Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside Now. I have returned from my cruise. Had a good time. Bell got electrocuted by lightning, but other than that, it went pretty good. What did I miss last week? Because I have not had time to view the show. Did I miss anything exciting?
Yes, it was an extraordinary show. Everybody was commenting how just great it was. Of course, always thanking Brian Young for being with us. He rescued us. He's back with us. He's asking if Jack's feeling good, feeling better now. And but yeah, we had a good show. We had a little controversy over people who wear boots and people who do not. And I had to correct a few people because my opinion is that could you ever imagine Tojo with boots on? I don't think so. Or the Samoans with boots on? I don't think so.
Or the scuffling hillbillies.
Scuffling hillbillies. There are exceptions to the rules. Now we were talking about the Riddler. I mean Riddle. Um, we saw him and we're talking about him. He does need boots. But no, you're not talking about Yokozuna didn't have it, Mr. Fuji didn't have them, but we had that discussion last week.
Well, I would agree if it fits your gimmick, good for you. But if you're just a wrestler that don't want to afford no boots because you're a cheap person, then you need to go get you some boots.
I always thought
if you go and you're going to be a cook and you do not have a spatula, you're not really a cook.
Well, I always thought they should have gotten Kevin Von Erich down and stomped his foot. Just held it down and just kept stomping his toes.
No, again, I think he didn't want to buy the $400 or $500 boots at the time. They was a little cheap. Hey, I can wait.
Well, that would tell you what kind of payoffs they were getting in Texas down, wouldn't
it? Number 21 last week. Did y'all talk about the top tag teams last week?
We did. We counted them out. We started back at 25, and then we made our way right back up because I want everybody to have the Brian's. So I think you should do the same thing. Start at 25, move your way back up, and then have your reveal.
Well, 21 is Jack and Jerry Briscoe. To be honest with you, I haven't wrote down the other ones, and I don't remember them. I mean, it's that I had them wrote down somewhere, but I don't have them now. I think I'd have to go back and look what they were. But number 20 this week, Jerry Stubbs, Mr. Perfect Jerry Stubbs, and the Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony. I've seen some of the greatest matches, I think, with them, the Nightmares.
Yeah, they were for first class tag team. There's no doubt about it, and they left them. I mean, a great team, and anybody, I guess the Riches, whoever they went against, Jerry Stubbs, Dirty White Boy, just an awesome team.
I ran into somewhere. I was in Sweetwater yesterday, and I ran into somebody, and they recognized me from wrestling, from Pro Wrestling Inside Out. Actually, they came and said, "Hey, aren't you the guy from Pro Wrestling Inside Out?" And at first, I was going to say no because I didn't know if it was one of those wrestlers that we made fun of or made fun of. But then I said, yeah. They asked me the question about tag teams, and they were talking about they had seen Jack and Jerry Briscoe on the Facebook page, and he said, "Is tag team wrestling? Is there a such thing as tag team wrestling anymore?" And I said, "I don't think there really are because I don't think there's a such thing as a tag team anymore. There's two single. They do tag, or at least they make the illusion that they tag, but." There's not no tag team. A tag team was Jack and Jerry Briscoe that would tag in and out. They actually would continue working and hold or working.
They had strategy. They had a team strategy. Exactly.
And I don't think that's the truth anymore. I think it's just a bunch of guys in the ring and they don't even. It's like the guy worked on his leg. Oh, the next thing you know, they come in there and do all kinds of spots. Well, what in the world was that about? Does tag team wrestling, Jack, does it really exist today?
It is definitely not something that is taken as seriously as it should be. I will say the exception for me is the tag team FTR. They are exceptional. They purposefully try to do the old school type tag matches and pull it off fairly well, especially considering the fact that they're in there with, like you're talking about, people who are just thrown together for no rhyme or no reason. but they're the exception to the rule now.
Jack, as we're talking about tag teams, number 20 on your list.
My number 20 is the Blackjacks.
There you go.
And
Tremendous.
I will 21. Since I wasn't here, the Valiant Brothers. 22 was the Stud Stable. 23 Graham Brothers. 24 Rocky Johnson, Tony Atlas, and number 25 was the Nightmares.
You know, if I had written mine down, I'd remember. But I've been on vacation since, and I don't know what I did with I don't know what I did with my list. Rodney, number 20 on your list.
Wasn't seen very often together, but when Mid-South, they were one heck of a tag team. I'm talking about Bill Dundee and Dutch Mantell. Tremendous team. They really they gelled so well together, and first class tag team yet again. Bill Dundee, Dutch Mantell.
You know, Wendell Cooley and Al Perez was a pretty good tag team. They were good with each other until they put them in as the Rock and Roll Express.
That was the kiss of death. Yes, absolutely.
But before that, I thought they were really good.
Great and if you got a chance, really, Dutch and Bill had that tremendous feud with the Fantastics, and then Coco, little Coco was in there with Bill Dundee's suit on. The pink suit it was pretty good stuff, I have to admit.
You know, I could say I was watching a little bit of wrestling on the way to Jacksonville, Florida. And by the way, Tony Khan did not get in touch with me and want to talk with me while I was in Jacksonville.
Well, he's too busy hugging Cesaro or whatever his name is, Claudio. He's crying and all that. Very sensitive. He's a very sensitive man.
He's also trying to reach out to WWE to let them know that he would be open to doing a split show.
Oh, I bet he would.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
By the way, Jack, did you happen to watch the Backdoor AEW and New Japan's Backdoor Wrestling?
I actually did.
Okay.
My daughter wanted to watch that pay-per-view, and so I broke down and I did get it and was pretty pleased with it. I mean, by today's standards, it was probably as good a pay-per-view as I've seen.
Now, they were asking me questions about it. I said I didn't know, but then once again, Tony Khan has to use someone else's talent to draw a house. I'm serious. I mean, that's the truth. He's using WWE's talent any way he can to draw a house, and now he's using New Japan, and now he wants to try to use WWE's talent again to try to draw another house to promote his own show. Just tremendous.
What's really wrong with Tony Khan, honestly? There's something wrong with him.
He doesn't know the wrestling business.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something seriously wrong with him in the respects that he's just a big fan for wrestling. I've never seen Bill Watts hug one of his talent. You know, I don't think Jerry Jarrett did as well. I don't think Jim Barnett.
Not in that way. Not in that way. That was very very disturbing hug there.
Yeah, that's
but I have to admit, for the month that it probably fit in real good.
How was the ratings for AEW?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what I think I had heard both 4 million and 8 million as far as the pay-per-view buys, so I don't know which one is accurate. Raw ratings were not in because yesterday was a holiday. SmackDown last week done a 2.231. Dynamite finally went over 1 million again, but just barely. Rampage did a whopping 476,000, and NXT did 507,000.
Boy, I tell you what, Triple H got them all hot and bothered at AEW, didn't he? When he I'm not for sure what he called him, but I don't even know if I know what that word means that he called him. Or maybe it's over my head what he called him, but is he correct, or I think Billy Gunn got really upset about it, didn't he? He got tore up, as we like to say.
Yeah. Well, for those of us did not hear, what did Triple H say?
Evidently, he called them rinky-dink, basically, I think that's
Okay.
what that word would mean. I'm not for sure, and I don't know
Yes.
the exact word right now, but because I didn't know what it meant, and I haven't had time actually to look that up, see what that word meant. But he got very. Road Dogg said that Triple H probably shouldn't have said that, and he felt bad for Billy Gunn. Well, he should feel bad for Billy Gunn because he's actually taken up for AEW. That's the reason he should be upset about it. But maybe he's got the wrong idea because I guess Billy Gunn is his ex partner. I guess they're still partnering up in some.
Yeah, they still do a lot of appearances.
All right, we ready to go see what the
Yes, absolutely. They've got some good ones in here.
And one quick thing. Of course, the biggest news of the day is Ric Flair is now praising Vince McMahon because his woo was put back into the opening graphics for Raw last night.
I did see that. Hey, how's the gate going now since they moved the Ric Flair last match to the
From what I heard, they're pretty close to selling out again.
There you go, Ric Flair. The Nature Boy still got it. Woo! Well, at least he can sell tickets now. I don't know.
It's kind of like a NASCAR race. You're going for the excitement and kind of expecting somebody to die. I mean, I hate to say that, but
Oh, so you're saying that this is going to turn into a casket match? Is that
well,
what
I
you're
don't
trying to
know.
say?
I hope not. I hope not. I mean, they still haven't announced who he's facing on this show. Although I'm pretty sure it's going to be the guy he's been training with.
Oh, the guy that is so good. The guy that does that, he did Ric Flair. So he did Ric Flair better than Ric
Jay
Flair.
Lethal? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Jay
Jay
Lethal?
Lethal.
Oh, tremendous! I like
Flair has started doing a thing where he's saying Jay's mad at him because he's not on the show, and so I expect any day for them to do some kind of press conference and Jay Lethal to come out and jump him and set
Well,
him
now
up.
he is.
Which I'd be good with that.
He is working for AEW, Jay Lethal, even though you wouldn't know it. Because here's a great talent, and they don't even push him. They don't even do nothing with him. Just okay, he's here.
Well, they've got a lot of them
Well,
just
yeah,
kind of
for whoever-
languishing because they're waiting on this Ring of Honor, which speculation now is that, since they're going to be doing a pay-per-view here about a month or so, I think. Anyway, they're doing their, another Ring of Honor pay-per-view that they're going to be making the announcement that night of a TV deal that they have, or a streaming deal, however, but the regular weekly show will be back.
I think they're going to be on the TV channel network, that tells you what's coming on television.
Could be.
Because didn't Impact Wrestling get on that for a while?
They did. They were. They certainly were. I've known of 2 or 3 different small promotions that did that.
So, good evening, gentlemen, from Richard Hood. Brian Young is with us in my place last week, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And if you haven't got the Wrestler's Wrestler, go get that book on Amazon. Jason Mundy is with us as well. Glenn Allen Shelton is with us. Kevin Penley, glad to see. Glad to see Jack back as well as the Cruiser. I guess that's what that says. I'm blurry today. My eyes are not focusing for some reason. Rick Brooks, hey guys, and everyone in attendance. Yes, we are back. I'll be leaving again in January, so I just want to. Howdy, everyone. I hope y'all had a great 4th of July. Yes. Dirty ring mats made it disgusting. What's he talking about? Is he talking about that show that? Brian, you'll have to let us know what you're talking about. Dirty ring mats. You know what? I think he's talking about the Southeastern Championship Wrestling ring mats. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Every show is great. Come on, man. Where have I heard that? Yes, that's. Hey, Nick Goulas had great shows. Great shows. Glad to see the full crew from Glenn Allen Shelton. Spatula. I'm Ablula. Oh, spatula. I see. He has a fork. That's right. Yes. But now you're just someone eating. You're a customer. You're not the cook. Christopher Hughes. Evening, guys. Welcome back, Mr. Lord. Jimmy Snuka. Jimmy Snuka looked good without boots. Yeah, well, he did. Yeah. But he looked great with boots as well, though. Hot dog and drink from Glen Allen Shelton. At least Kevin Von Erich never painted his toenails. Successful. I think a successful night of Continental Championship Wrestling this weekend at the Crossing. I've seen some photographs of it, and it looked like everybody had a good time there. Kirk, one of our supporters, Kirk. What's up, guys? Glad to be joining you this week. Kirk has supported us now, I think, for over 13 months. 13 months he has supported us on our Facebook page, and it's very easy to do. You can just go over there and support us, and we're going to be telling you a little bit more about how to support us as well in the next few weeks. My number 20 is the Bounty Hunters, the Novaks, and Jimmy Kent. Drew a lot of money almost everywhere they went, but they were very believable because they were very big men. Very big men. George, thank you all for your support of the CCW Fan Fest and Dublin last Saturday. We had a great turnout and a lot of fun. Charles, Alberto, and Ramon Torres. Dad always said great things about them. Have y'all ever seen any videos of them wrestling?
No.
I haven't.
They'd always liked them. Number 20 from Brian Young is Pepper Gomez and Pedro Morales. A great tag team. Rotundo, Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham, excuse the spelling, Mako, 80-33, number 20. Richard Hood, number 20, the Dirty White Boys. Tony Anthony. And, now, Richard, let me make sure. Because there was a few Dirty White Boys. So I want to make sure. Dirty White Boys could be Tony Anthony and Lynn Denton. Or they could be Jimmy Powell. And what was his partner's name, Jack?
Star.
Yeah.
What was his
Billy
name?
Starr. Billy Starr.
And they were the Dirty White Boys, wasn't they? So which ones are we talking about here? Hey, Jimmy Powell and they were good. They were good. Jack and Jerry Briscoe and the Oates brothers and Glen Allen Shelton. People are going to be very surprised when the Oates brothers show up on my tag team list. Number 20 for Mickey Mayfield, Ted and Jerry Oates. They were tremendous tag team. They were so innovative in what they did and how they were tag teams. They did things that no one else did. They were just superb. And they missed a missed opportunity in Georgia to push them to the top. They would have drew a ton of money everywhere. But it just wasn't in the cards. Christopher Hughes, my 21, Mike Graham, and Steve Kern. I never saw them as a tag team. Jack, have you ever seen any videos?
I did. They did not make my list.
I mean, I don't know. I just, neither one of them. Steve Kern, I was fine a little bit while he was in Georgia. I thought he had some good matches. He was wrestling against Kevin Sullivan, so that was part of his problem. But the thing is Mike Graham, I just never see anything in Mike. How about you, Roddy? Did you see anything in Mike?
He was decent for Florida, especially. I think that if he would have got away from Florida, tried to work some other places, he might have done pretty decent. No, he was okay. Mike was okay.
Number 20. It just seemed like in Florida, just seemed like he never really drew any money, though. Did he draw any money in Florida? Does anybody know?
He primarily was a tag wrestler, if I'm not mistaken. So
number 20, Tully Blanchard.
It was kind of like with George. He stuck him with Bobby Eaton. So, same kind of
thing. Number 20, Tully Blanchard and Gino Hernandez back in the early 1980s in Southwest championship wrestling.
Yeah,
But, I
you're-
thought they were good in world class. I thought they were tremendous in world class. Wendy Martin.
they were the original dynamic duos, and Tully Blanchard.
Oh, that's right. That was Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams.
That's right.
Oh,
That's all right. You've been out of it.
yes.
Not just today.
Evening, guys. Running a tad bit late. Hope all is well. Wendy, go ahead and get in touch with Jack for that late fee, that Bill Watts late fee. It's always a $50 fine if you're not, even if you're 1 minute late, you get a 1 minute, you get $50 fine. But Jim Duggan always got bonuses at the end of the week after that fine, so he never really got fined. Let's see. No, both should be lower. Probably true. I hope you enjoyed your cruise, Brett. I did enjoy it. It was very fun. I enjoy cruises. The only vacation I take every year, and sometimes twice a year. But I don't think I'll be going twice. I'll be just going once a year. It's mighty expensive gas going there, unless I can figure out a way to walk and hitchhike, and because it was expensive getting there. My number 20, Pat and Randy Rose. Wendy Harkins. Let's see. Gregory, the Usos are a great tag team. I just can't get into the Usos because they're just comic people. It's all comedy with them. Am I wrong about that? What I've seen of them is just comedy.
They've tried to turn them into more serious as far as when the actual matches are going on. And you missed like an hour tag match they had the other night, which I think they broke a world record for false finishes.
Rodney, is the Usos? It's something's missing in the Usos, though.
No, it's nothing's missing. They fit in well with what they're doing today. They're just not a team as we think of a tag team. They're just not. And there really nobody is, but that's the thing. And then as far as doing what WWE wants them to do, they're absolutely perfect in that position right now.
And one of those Usos don't need to be driving in Florida.
No.
Or any of the other states.
This is true. Kevin Penley has a question. He says, "My question for everybody: where is the worst fan?" I don't know if there's a such thing as a worst fan.
Well, where's the worst fan wrestler fight you were close to or seen?
Go ahead, Jack. Answer that.
Well, I was involved with a few fan fights in my time. I've seen them a ton of times. Fans fighting with themselves, trying to fight with wrestlers. I had a fan try to jump the railing on me one night, and I knocked him out before he ever cleared the railing. And they drug him off. And then about 10 years later, I was in the locker room with this guy, and he was talking about how he used to come watch me wrestle and how he got drunk one night. And he had tried to jump the railing, and somebody knocked him out. And I said, "That was me." And he said, "Okay."
We've seen a lot of fights, especially in the 70s. 70s was pretty brutal for wrestling. And anytime Adrian Street wrestled, there was always a fight with Adrian. I think people thought they could beat Adrian. And they found out very quickly it wasn't Adrian they had the problem with. It was Miss Linda. That's the person that didn't want to mess with. We were in Montgomery, Alabama, and some fan, I can't remember. I don't know. It was a guy. He jumped on Adrian, and boy, when they did, Linda wore them little spikes. She had them little spikes, and she was pounding him. But they got him down, and our father, Ronnie West, got out there, and he would pick the guy's head up so Adrian could kick him. He would pick his head back up so Adrian could kick him. And this was going on until they finally, the police finally tracked him out of there. But boy, they beat that guy. And Linda worse than anybody. I mean, and And he kept on telling Linda to quit hitting because every time she would hit him in his hands because he had them grabbed up like that. But that happened so many places. I remember one time Adrian, Miss Linda hit that lady that had oxygen in Birmingham. She grabbed a hold of him. She grabbed a hold of her. She just turned around, just hit, and it was the lady with oxygen that always come to the matches.
Yeah.
Pretty bad about it after she found out that she hit that woman. Rodney, any stories?
Well, one comes to mind. The stupidest thing that had ever happened. We were in some town, Alabama, Mississippi. And the football team was sitting on the front row, and Wendell Cooley was wrestling. I don't know against who, but they were heckling Wendell through the entire match. So Wendell thought he was Mr. Big Guy. So he takes we only had a rope. So he took the rope over this one guy that was standing up and put the rope over the guy, and then invited him in the ring, which the football player picked him up and put him to the ground. All right, then Dad and everybody else starts coming to the ring. By that time, the entire football team was in the ring. And Robert Fuller was out there. And now Wendell was still a good guy at this point. And for whatever reason, and I was hot because then Wendell substituted my town, Haleyville, and 2 weeks later because they were going to arrest Wendell. Because Wendell hit a few of those football players. But yeah, this was one of those things where if he would have just let the boys do what they did and walked off, wouldn't have had any problem whatsoever. But he endangered everybody because he thought he was somebody until the football player took him down. It was a riot and was no need for one.
Hey, did Wendell ever think that he never was taught how to shoot?
Well, apparently he thought he was that night. He thought he could actually take on the entire football team, and it was as long as it was 1-on-1, it was fine. But when the other guys came into the ring, Dad's come into the ring, then the whole football team come into the ring as well. It was the stupidest thing I ever seen. And boy, I had some few choice words from Mr. Cooley. And I used the word fire him many times in that conversation.
Trained Wendell Cooley.
You trained him?
No, who trained him?
Oh,
I don't know who trained him. I'm not for sure. I never heard.
Apparently, someone that didn't know how to shoot, or apparently thinks it was a good idea to challenge the entire football team.
I mean, because that guy came right in. Just took him right down. And
took him right down, right on the mat.
Bill Watts would have fired him. He wouldn't have had to worry about it. Bill Watts would have fired him. And
he should have been fired. He should have been fired.
Fire him because let's just be honest with this. He got beat by a kid.
He did.
I mean, he has
a high school football player. He got took down. Yeah, it was embarrassing.
This guy was big. Yes, football. This kid was big.
Well,
have you ever seen Micro Man and MLW? Be fair, you better most big. Jack, have you seen this?
I have not. I have not watched MLW in some time.
Rodney, do you know who
I have never. I have no idea who he is. No, I'm sorry.
I've tried to watch MLW. I just doesn't that David Marquez or whatever his name is produce that show?
He's not there.
Well, good, because I don't want to watch anything he produces. I don't know where this guy became a wrestling expert, but he's no wrestling expert. Brian Young, good pick. Rodney, Dirty Dutch Mantel, and Bill Dundee, amazing. Bill Dundee, Buddy Landell, pretty good tag team as well. Gregory Busby, the Brain Busters were good. Yes, they were. Tremendous tag team. Now you don't know for sure if one of the guys or not. No, I know pretty sure that Jim Barnett had nothing to do with any of the wrestlers. I don't think you never heard it, and it's never been said that he ever did, and we never saw that. And we were in Atlanta for 11 years. So if somebody would have saw it, we would have saw that. And our father was there as well, right-hand man to Jim Barnett. Never said anything about it. Brian Young, remember once Wrestling Rodney and their Wookiee Luchador officially teamed up. Everyone will have a number one on their list. if Rodney turns on the Wookiee.
until he does. Yes, he said it would be 3 weeks. I gave him 6.
Well, now in WWE, if it's your friend, it will be there. There will be.
That is right.
Liv Morgan became the champion. How did this happen? Where was I at during all this?
Right. She wins the Money in the Bank, and then she cashes in after the match. And apparently they can't face anybody one-on-one anymore. They have to wait till they've already been beat down in a previous match before they are able to challenge them. So
now they it did get a tremendous crowd pop because Liv is pretty over with the audience. However, I think that it makes your baby face look weak when she's won that briefcase. She's supposed to be idolized by everyone, and yet she goes out there at the end of the match when the champion's already beat down and then challenges. Now, it might have been one thing if Ronda had been a hated heel, but Ronda was also pushed as a top babyface. So, I don't know. It's not a call I would have made, but then again, from my understanding, Ronda didn't want to keep the title. I don't know if she's leaving. I don't think she wanted it at all coming back this time, but they talked her into it. But she wanted to put over the hardest working woman there, the one she thought could get the most out of a win. So, and she raised her hand when it was over with, which I thought was a good gesture, but still, it's not exactly the way I would have done it.
Yeah, Liv Morgan's a very little small woman.
Yeah,
you kind of wonder. What's the girl's name? She's got a brain problem now. What was I doing during all this?
You talking about Rhea Ripley?
Yeah, Rhea Ripley.
When she hit herself, I think she loosened up her teeth here in the front because I had noticed in some of her Instagram pictures that she had a wire across her teeth. But my understanding is she also gave herself a concussion in that process.
Wow, she really done herself.
Banged herself. Well, you got to hit yourself pretty good and knock your teeth.
Yeah, anyway. Man. Some other independent lady wrestler went over and hit the top of the turnbuckle, and she did herself some major. Yeah,
she's a friend of mine too, and she's still she's back wrestling, but she's still dealing with a lot of the memory issues from that.
We talked about that, people taking too many risks. And it's just a high spot when you're taking a risk. I can understand taking a risk if you're trying to get a finish over, but for high spots, that makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know. Maybe Rodney, what did you think about Liv Morgan?
It's fine. It's not unusual for the show, but I think Jack's right. She took advantage of a situation. If she would have been up front and decent, she would have come out and challenged her that night and then had the match the next night. Would have made more sense, but he's right. And to me, it shows low moral character of Miss Morgan than it does anything. Or that's my opinion.
Jack, do you think Vince McMahon's goose is cooked this time, or does he get out of it again, Kevin Penley?
Vince has always managed to get out of everything. But now it's not Vince's company. He's answerable to the public. He's answerable to the stock exchange. He's answerable to a public now that is quick to cancel anybody that does things they perceive as wrong. And I'm not a member of cancel culture. I hate it. I hate it. On the other hand, I think his behavior is inexcusable. I think it shows, how out of touch he is with reality, how money has made him feel, and obviously he has been this way for a long time, that he's untouchable, that he can do things that the rest of us wouldn't do and shouldn't do. So, is he going to go down? I don't know. I don't bet. I don't gamble, but I would be surprised if he makes it through this unscathed.
Tony Khans like Dixie Carter that have the budget but really know nothing to surround themselves with morons. From Kane Kenny, I believe.
No, let me. Could I just correct Kane? I'm not trying to disagree with you, Kane. You don't. He hasn't surround himself with moron. He is a moron. So there you go.
Well, here's the thing: is Dixie Carter brought people in to run the company. She made poor choices. First of all, Vince Russo. Everybody can agree, is a poor choice. But still, she brought people in that she was under the impression was going to take care of her company for her. She knew she didn't know enough to do it herself. Tony is surrounded by a lot of talent there, the older guys that have been around, that know what they're doing, but he does it all himself. He doesn't really want to take anybody else's advice. Now, he may listen to them when it comes to ideas for matches, but when it comes to how you run a company, professional wrestling is not like any other business out there. It is an animal unto itself. It's a rare breed. And if you don't understand it and you don't surround yourself with people that understand it, you're ultimately just shooting yourself in the foot. Now, can he make it? Even fools stumble into success sometimes. But why would you take the chance when you've got so many people around you already?
When you look at WWF and their success, look at the people that he had. James Blair's, Gorilla Monsoon, Chief Jay Strongbow, Pat Patterson, Terry Garvin at the time. Just so many valuable wrestlers that he listened to and he took advice from. Even Stu Hart. He would listen to him and talk to him and get his advice. Jim Barnett. So look at the people that Vince did. Now Vince has to go and talk to somebody that's 23 years old that wrote the last Saturday Night Live skit. And that's I think the reason wrestling is not where it is today. Michael Barr, hello from Southeast Alabama. Michael, did you go to the Continental Championship Wrestling Reunion? Richard Hood, all pro wrestlers should wear wrestling boots. Mickey Mayfield, who is Flair going to wrestle? Jack said it was Jay Lethal.
Maybe Jay Lethal. That's who I'm thinking it may be.
He may wrestle the Invisible Man. Who knows?
There was a time that he could have.
It will be a slow-mo match. I'll tell you that right now. Because when you go watch the stuff he did with Jay Lethal, they've speeded it speeded up if you'll notice. Just go. Tony Khan should bring in someone who knows. He's got people that knows wrestling. He's got Arn Anderson. He's got Tully Blanchard, Jake Roberts, Jim Ross. For goodness sakes, he's got Jim Ross right there that could run that.
Jim Ross could run your company.
Yeah.
Not creative. I'm talking about the actual day-to-day business of the company. That's the guy I would get, even at his age, to do this for me. Show me how it's done.
Yeah. What do you think, Rodney? Jim Ross? Is he the guy that
he could be the stabilizing force for sure, and then he could put together and let him pick who the booker would be, if you want to call him that. That would be a good first step for him for sure. And then once again, we can put Tony can go into one of these spin-offs. This idea of doing all these other different shows like a reality show, and maybe put him Cesaro together. Very interesting little show there.
I mean, though, luckily he is smart enough not to hire Vince Russo, though.
No, just give him time. Give him time.
Yeah.
It's next week. Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal is who actually Richard said Jay Legal, and there could be some legal stuff going on there. They're going to take a backdrop.
Of course.
Richard.
Well, I heard they're going to, as I've said before, I heard they're going to take the top rope down. He's going to wrestle with two ropes. middle, and bottom.
Orange Cassidy has improved as a wrestler, but he needs weight. Kevin Penley. What's the big deal now is his music. Like, who gives a crap what music he's got? And what idiot wants to pay a bunch of money to be able to use that?
You know,
music?
here's the thing that they do that I don't understand is, they made a big deal out of changing his music because that's what he did on the Indies. Well, he's not on the Indies anymore. Why is that important? Why are you paying, extra fees? You got an in-house music guy, Mikey Ruckus, that does great music for everybody. Why pay extra fees, licensing fees for a song that, yeah, everybody knows that song, but it doesn't mean anything to the audience in general. But it's the oh gosh, the guy that I always complain. He's okay till he drops his straps. Then you see how out of shape he is. Him and Chris Jericho's always going back and forth. But that guy brings up so much stuff that happened in the Indies. And I'm like, nobody knows. If there's not film of it and you're not showing it, why are you talking about it? Nobody cares.
That's true. Rodney, what do you think about this?
Eddie Kingston.
Eddie.
Well, obviously, when the big thing that I think Tony, and of course, it's where Tony doesn't know anything. He's kind of dumb. But the real story here, this actually, that Orange Cassidy actually has hands. I saw that in a match. It was amazing. I thought he was with.
And a lot of fun going on is what his. That's what his.
I thought, he didn't have hands for long.
Booker T got in trouble with the internet wrestling community because he talked about Adam Cole needing to put on muscle size. He said that's why he keeps getting hurt. And they were lambasting him that it ain't 40 years ago. You don't have to be muscled up to be a wrestler. That was not his point. Point was, when you have that muscle mass size on there, you don't get hurt as much because you got something to absorb and keep your bones from breaking. And yet here we are. Orange Cassidy just came back from an injury. Adam Cole's out with an injury. There's several there that are out with injuries. Smaller guys. They keep doing these high risk moves, and it's not just an AEW problem. It's a WWE issue as well. Cody Rhodes is the only one on the shelf that had a legitimate in the gym training injury. Everybody else getting hurt in the ring.
Yeah, independent wrestling is just as bad. They do some absolutely stupid stuff there that makes no sense in front of 20 people.
I just saw a clip of a guy getting powerbombed from the top rope to the outside through some chairs. And out of 6 or 8 chairs they had lined up to catch him, he only caught 2 of them. The rest, but thankfully, the concrete was there to break his fall.
It's just stupid stuff. What? It's not wrestling. It is not wrestling. Charles Alford is with us. Afternoon from Charles Alford. Christopher Hughes, I am looking more forward to the Wolves and Motor City Machine Guns than Flair. Is Flair in a singles or a tag match? He could team up against someone against
Arthritis and Pancake.
Oh, I was fixing to ask who those people were. I don't know which is worse. I tell you, I need some rest. Gregory, abused me. I heard Jim Ross I heard Jim Ross went to Rampage due to the fans reacting to his out-of-date comments as a recent pay-per-view show.
He called Cesaro. Instead of Claudio Castagnoli, I think's his real name, who I absolutely loved seeing him there, and he's fantastic. But those are, that's how he knew the guy.
Yeah. Tony Khan listening to this internet group of people is just ridiculous and stupidity. I mean, it truly is because, they have a voice, but the problem is they're not the only people watching the wrestling show. And that's only about 20 people that probably go on there and talk about that. What about the other 900 some million people that watch the show because Jim Ross may be a part of it? Take him off the show, you take away Jim Ross. And take Tony Schiavone out, you got a guy in a mask doing your commentary. So, it's just
the shame of him. Jim Ross should be flogged for doing such a thing. Most terrible thing that's ever been perpetrated on a television show. Even though you'll have people like Theory on there trying to use a briefcase and didn't even know what to do with it. It was shameful, absolute shameful. I don't know if you saw that, but this was last night on Raw. Had no business even using a briefcase, and I would have met him at the curtain.
But why would Tony Khan listen to people about something so trivial and stupid?
They would like to see Jim Ross gone, and if they can push it, then they will do it. That's
because they know Jim Ross legitimately hates the crap they're doing, and they know it, and he's just taking the money and going in. It won't matter.
That is so trivial. That is so trivial, and anybody who listened to it was kind of goofy.
Take Jim Ross off the show, Tony Khan. See how your ratings go down pretty fast because he is giving you.
Well, the thing about it, Tony is going to step in his position and do his commentary.
Not before he hugs everybody, though.
Brent, it was Tony Anthony and Lynn Denton. All right, I just want to make sure that Lynn Denton and Tony Anthony were better as the grapplers, in my opinion. From Christopher Hughes, they were a great tag team. They knew what they were doing. They were so good. Something was missing. They were missing something in Mid-South, and I think they needed a manager. Mid-South. I truly do. And if Jimmy Hart would have came in as the manager of the Dirty White Boys, major money would have been made with them in the Rock and Roll Express.
And it would have been natural because Hart was already managing Dirty White Boys from Memphis. So perfect.
Other than a metrosexual gimmick, Billy and Chuck Colombo from Charles Alford. Charles Alford, my grandma's okay. Was cool. Okay. All right.
He?
I never got along with my grandma. Never. I tried. I tried to be nice to him. He was always a butthole to me. And I don't know why. I asked Sid one time. I said, Sid, is he ever happy? He says, I don't think he is. Because what happened was I was in Chattanooga and he was the agent for the night. Sid didn't even know who he was wrestling, and Mike Graham would not give him a sheet. He said, hey, listen, who am I wrestling tonight? And what's the card? So I can talk a little bit about it. On the radio, he's going to do a radio spot. And I said, well, here's the card here. You can take it. Well, he doesn't give it back to me. So I'm standing there waiting for them. They're going through the finish in Chattanooga, the Memorial Auditorium. I mean, at the UTC Arena. And I go up there and I just stand. And I'm waiting for them to get through going through the finish, which I don't know why they won't. I know it was only going to be a 5-minute match. So I don't know why they needed to take so long on this match. And Sid was going to win. But I'm standing there. And Mike said, well, what do you want? I said, well, I would like to have my sheet back that Sid has. Sid, do you have that? He said, no, I don't know what I did with it. I said, you mean to tell me I gave you my sheet that's got all my weights and where these people are from? And now you don't know where it's at. He said, no, I don't know what I did with it. So I dealt with two morons at the same time, my grandma and Sid. So don't ever give Sid your paper that you're going to use. Rest in peace, Bobby Eaton. He did pass away, but what, a year ago now, right? Wendy Harkins, she'd be lower. I feel shrimp, so I couldn't help but be late. I'm feeling shrimp. Christopher Hughes. Mike Graham singles were mainly junior heavyweights. He was the NWA junior champion, the U.S. junior champion 3 times, the IWGP champion twice. So he was more like the Scott Armstrong of of that territory.
Now, Brent. Now you.
I mean, I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think you just. I don't know what did Scott ever do to you?
He never did anything.
What did you think did Scott? Why would you besmirch Scott like that?
I'm just saying he was the junior champion there.
That's not what it. That's not what it came out. That is terrible.
Mean,
you have besmirched Scott Armstrong right here in front of everybody. Scott was a great wrestler. He could have wrestled with a broomstick and make the broomstick look good. I'm not sure about Mike. Mike is a broomstick, I guess. I don't know. I would have been the broomstick, but no, I think that what you have done here, you have besmirched Scott Armstrong. You have talked about his family, his mother, and everything else. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is the kind of thing that causes people to throw you off, like Jim Ross, that they're trying to throw Jim Ross off TV. Now they're going to try to throw you off because of things you've said about.
If Scott will ever return any of our calls, we can apologize.
I don't think we exist to him anymore. I still think we exist to him anymore. No, Ben, please, if you talk to Scott, I didn't mean nothing, but it was a bad joke. Do you think the Nasty Boys were a good tag team? Yes, I do believe they were a good tag team.
Yeah, they were outstanding, just outstanding. They could whip up a crowd really better than anybody I've ever seen. They were a great tag team.
Yeah.
And a little note, when I worked with them in the Carolinas, they tried to get me to go to Puerto Rico as a third Nasty Boy.
That would have been great.
But he knew not to go to Puerto Rico. So.
True.
Kane Kennedy. So I take it he didn't want a rematch. I'm not for sure who he's talking about. Charles Alford, the the Usos. I always think the Usos try to use the hip hop persona. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Charles. I'm with you on that. My number 20 is Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose, the original Midnight Express with Norvell Austin. Richard Hood. Jack, at the Atlanta City Auditorium, the fights in the audience were just as good as the fights in the ring sometimes.
And sometimes you could take on a couple of rats.
That's right.
We used to see the Atlanta in the Omni. In the Omni, the police were brutal. You did not want to mess with them. I seen this lady fighting and kicking this cop, and he decided he had all he could take and just punched her right in the head, knocked her out, and picked her up and carried her out of the building.
Yeah, I've seen them jump over chairs. The police at the Omni jump over chairs. Yeah, and there was fights break out throughout the. Well, as the evening wore on, we had more and more.
A lot of beer being sold at the Omni. The Omni in Atlanta, great thing. But I thought the Atlanta City Auditorium. I never really liked the atmosphere of the Omni. I like the atmosphere of the Atlanta City Auditorium. Anita is with us. Hello, guys. Rick Brooks. Piper had to punch a fan in Cincinnati one night in '82. Piper had to do that a lot. I remember that night in Montgomery. Wendy was there. Yeah. And when that happened. Anita said, my top 20 is Jerry Stubbs and Dennis Condrey. Robert Walker. Hey, Robert is with us. Mr. Wrestling 2, son. Aloha, gentlemen. Hope all is well. Good to see you. Quick story. I will never forget a fan asking my mom if she'd ever seen him without his mask.
I can just imagine the answer that she gave.
Yeah, knowing her, it would have been a good answer that she gave. We need to get Robert back on here. We're going to get back to talking about some of the wrestlers, Wrestling 2, and Tommy Rich and a bunch of the guys in the next few weeks. We just got to get back to a regular schedule. So Jimmy Golden and Robert Fuller is in my 20. Anita, great tag team. They were tremendous tag team. Piper also got into some trouble with the law and had to return to the Cincinnati area for a court date about the same time in '82. Yeah, Piper was kind of out, and during that time, he was not doing well. It was more important for him to party than it was for him to wrestle at that time.
I just saw a great documentary on A&E yesterday on him. and it was very, very well done and touched on that particular time period a lot.
Dennis Mitchell. I wasn't able. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Wow.
What?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Delicious. Okay.
That Panda Express coming back up. Hey, I won't. I wasn't able to make Continental Fan Fest. Did any of you? Did any of you go? Please. Did they ever have any fans interfere with the wrestlers at Columbus Municipal Tour? I'm pretty sure they did. Dennis from Montgomery. I'm pretty sure they did. Was you there anytime, Jack? That fans tried to jump?
Yeah, I saw a few fights, a few folks getting cut off from trying to get in the ring, but I think Ray Candy stumped somebody's head in one night as he was trying to slide in the ring.
And they probably asked themselves, Ray, well, Ray, I was trying to help you, Ray. And he said to them, my name is Kareem Mohammed, one half of the Zambuli.
It seems like I remember Austin Idol having to fight to get back to the dressing room one night in Columbus.
A lot of probably a lot of fights in that, and Columbus TV had some problems with people jumping in the ring, and our father would continuously kick them over and over again. They'd come through the ring, and he had football kick them right before they could get. He always loved the football kick, and he was in Columbus TV, and someone did the same thing. Came right into that ring, and he felt good about himself. He just football kicked this guy. And he came out of the dressing room afterwards, and everybody was sitting around this guy, and he goes over and says, what's going on? He finds out that the person that he kicked was a handicapped kid, like maybe 18 years old, that didn't really know what he was doing, and he kicked him. So he didn't. Ole Anderson told him, said, if you kick one more guy, one more person, I'm going to have to take you out of the ring. And it could have been a reason he was took out of the ring. I'm not for sure. Because he did quit refereeing, and Scrappy and Nick Patrick started refereeing more often. So maybe they just didn't want Dad kicking people. Dad loved that, by the way. He loved fans hitting the ring. He just he lived for that. He liked to watch them. He'd see them, but out of sight. Oh, there he comes. Oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be. Richard Hood has chatted to me. That his chats are not coming through the feed.
Not sure.
We've been going through some stuff with him. So is Dave Marquez over Championship Wrestling Hollywood when it was NW? There's just something about him. I'm not for sure what it is, but man, he's the smartest man in America, I think. I don't know. There's something about him rubs me the wrong way. King Kitty, though it could be a heel turn, but we don't know, do we? Dr. Philbo Grice is with us. Dr. Philbo Grice, how you doing? Brian Young, great to see y'all again. I wish I could stay the whole show, but I have to finish my show for tomorrow. Talk soon, and great show as always. Thank you so much. Well, we're running out of time as well. We're going to go through some more people here. He also tunes Wrestling Network. I'm not sure what that.
Right.
There's no telling what we
talking about David Marquez.
Oh, okay. Should have used it for a heel turn, not for a face. Does it make sense? I guess.
Talking about Liv Morgan. Yeah.
That didn't make no sense. David Bice is with us. David Bice has been going to a lot of wrestling shows here lately.
His mom failed today too. So
David can just be our roving reporter and tell us at least what's going on every week at these wrestling shows. WWF showed more stupidity when they put Theory in a ladder match and let him win it. That's what
I'll have to admit that the whole thing when he comes out on the beginning of Raw looks like a couple of elementary school kids were on the playground somewhere. Let's
be honest. I mean, they're not going to drop those titles off of Roman Reigns for a while. So you have a briefcase winner. If Seth Rollins would have won the case and then couldn't win the match against against Roman Reigns, then it's going to make him look bad. Anybody else involved in that match, if they don't win against Roman Reigns, it's going to make him look bad. Theory's not going to hurt because Theory's got Vince McMahon behind him. So if he goes in and he tries to cash in and he doesn't win, this not going to hurt him because Vince is still going to push him because he's still in that building stage with it.
I agree.
Well, I noticed that though. If did you watch that first part of that show? Did you watch the first part of Raw when Theory was out there? It got no response. When even after he hit, I mean, then of course people were laughing when the briefcase came open; it was empty. I don't know if you caught that, but the people were laughing on the front row. It was awful.
Text from Kenneth.
Do you think Theory? What? That's somebody's talking to right now. The Theory to me just still wrestles like an independent wrestler, though. And
He's coming off very green. Is what I saw. He comes off, if that's what you're saying, he comes off very green, like it's the first time he's ever been on TV, and they're going to have to tone him down because that's what it comes off of. He comes off looking like he's an amateur.
I think there's tremendous upside to him, but I think they brought him from NXT a year too early.
Yeah, because he looks great.
Yep.
He's not ready for as with a primetime TV as
he could be, but he needs to tone down just a little bit because that whole thing looked awful. It just
do they make him again a comedy? It's all
yes, it is. It is comedy, and that's and he's over the top, way over the top, in what he does. So
hey, Charles said this is what happens when you sell yourself to the Illuminati.
It's true.
Christopher Hughes, let me go off this, but Christopher says, I was doing a show once on a football field. Of course, it was rain, cats and dogs. I got thrown out of the ring and my foot slipped on the wet apron and went face first in the ring ropes. That was basically a steel cable wrapped in rubber tubing, broke my nose and 18 stitches.
Oh, man.
That's the reason nobody liked the outdoor shows. Plus, the mat was 360 degrees if you're out there. Let's see. I'm not going to say what Gregory says. Eddie Dale says Vince McMahon is a moron. I don't think he was at one time. I think he's.
I think as far as business wise, no, I think he's great in business wise. Personally, and this is what this is: his personal life. Yeah, he's a moron. This was stupid.
Yeah.
He should have known better. Very simply.
Let's see. I say maybe use Jake Roberts could work creative, though I don't know if it'd be a good idea. I'm not for sure how Jake is now. I've heard that he's good, and if he is good, if he's there and he's not messed up, Jake would be tremendous. He does know psychology, and I think
I was going to say, even if he couldn't write stories and come up with ideas, if you gave them to him where he could sit down with the guys and tell them how to make that story work in the match, that's a tremendous asset.
Is tennis shoes acceptable? No, unless you're a runner. So you're a wrestler, for goodness sakes. David Bai said, was the Masked Man announcer a wrestler with Jim Ross?
Yeah, he did wrestle a good while back, but he doesn't anymore.
And there's probably a reason. We won't want to know. Good show, all. Not feeling well. Surgery soon. God bless and thanks. Michael will be praying for you. No doubt, we'll be praying for you. Rick's matches are brought to you by Ben Gay and Depends. Let's see. Joel Bateman. Hi all. Bailey. Says you see Bailey got hurt in the gym. My training for a match last.
She has been out a full year.
Yeah.
Sure has.
Yeah. Good news on Big E though. He's doing well, I think now.
Jack said muscle and some fat on your body deserve to falls. And I don't care. Adam Cole looks horrible. He looked horrible. He wasn't in shape. You put him in with some big old dude, a shoulder block could hurt him.
He was in better shape in NXT than he is right now.
Yeah, it's horrible shape. Like he may be sick. I mean, there may be something wrong with him, and we don't know about it. And because he doesn't.
And I want to point out, I love Adam Cole. I love to see him in the ring, but every time he takes bumps, I think, oh, gosh, you're going to break something. But man, you talk about a guy that's good and gifted. He is.
It just will not work out anymore.
And
Something-
once he goes back to working out and put some more size on him, they can take those microscopes off the cameras so people can actually see him. It'll save the money over the long term. I saw him. It looks. I understand he's hurt, and he needs to apparently go in to get some work done. But yeah, he it looked bad. He looked really bad.
I said the problem with AEW is too many inmates run the asylum. Everybody tries to do everything at once, not take time to let people take in the moves. Where WWE, everyone very limited, and you can tell. Let's see, is there any more part of that? No, that I guess that was it. You know, there is some truth to that. I just don't know. David Bias said Ric Flair versus Mike Jackson.
Okay.
Mike could blow him up.
Jim Cornette and Jim Ross should run a wrestling company. Jim Cornette would not do that in these days and times. He wouldn't last 5 minutes somewhere because
if Jim Cornette was not totally in charge, he would not do it. Period.
No, he would. And I don't think most people would. That's older in age. That's done it for years. How would you compare Tony Khan to David Woods? David
was smarter.
He didn't think he could run wrestling. He never thought he could run wrestling. He never thought he could book it. He never thought he could book the towns. He never thought he could advertise the towns. He knew he needed people in those positions. The only thing that David did, and I love Robert Fuller, was bringing Robert Fuller and putting Johnny Rich over that Continental. That was the downfall of that company because neither one knew anything about the company itself. They didn't know how it was running. So you took the people that did know what was going on a daily basis with that company, and you put two people that had no clue what was going on. So, I mean, and it's nothing against Robert Fuller. It's nothing against Johnny Rich. They just didn't know. It wasn't their fault. They just didn't know how the company was run and didn't want our father to tell them because they basically said, well, it's your fault that it ain't doing well. So you can just go ahead and leave. And they didn't want to listen to what he had to say. And guess what? Within 2 months, they were out of business. I mean, it was just because they didn't know. And that I will say that about David Woods. And he didn't know either. So you had three people that run in the company and had no clue how the business was run. Am I correct about that, Rodney?
Yes.
And not nothing against them. They just didn't know. Christopher Hughes, what happened when spots like you were talking about meant something? The fans really appreciate it because they understood what they just saw and what the wrestler just put his body through. It meant something because it just wasn't done that often. Now it's just gotten stupid and ridiculous.
That's one thing I preach, to young talents today is I don't mind you doing the spot. I don't. Slow down. Let it register. Sell it, make it mean something, and then get up and go do whatever else you're going to be doing. But nobody even goes for pinfalls anymore because you're so worried about popping up and going into the next spot. You've forgotten the real reason you're in that ring is to pin somebody.
And sometimes they may forget to get that surprise look when somebody kicks out.
Yeah. That's. I think there's a class for that.
I think Corey Graves is the one that teaches it too.
Hey, didn't they know that was in the script? They was reading that, so they should have knew that the guy was going to kick out the time. Is Tony Khan going to also pop the popcorn too with everything else? No, I think that'd be beneath him. I think he would say no on that. Wendy said she was peeling shrimp at the time. Well, there's no excuses. Bill Watts did not care why he was late. It's no. Christopher Hughes said any Armstrong, but BJ.
BG made more money. So,
boy, he did. The Kane Kennedy said the fan that got knocked out, I doubt he wanted a rematch. Tony gets a bad rep. I give him credit. He has the money and loved wrestling with a passion, so he started AEW despite shortcomings. He has given us some decent shows. Yeah, I mean, I guess for the current group of wrestling, but think about wrestling back in the 70s and 80s and how many people watching wrestling compared to who's watching it now. There's something wrong because less people today is watching wrestling that's ever watched it in the history of professional wrestling. In the history of professional wrestling. Not just in the last 2 years, 3 years, in the history of professional wrestling. There were more people watching Memphis wrestling in city, one city, than is watching wrestling AEW in the world, in the United States. That's sad. So, is he really doing a good job, or is he only doing it for a small, minute section of the country? Now, it could be that people don't watch the shows like they used to, and they only watch YouTube, and that's the reason YouTube does so well. It could be that that's helping them because they did 4 million buys. That's a pretty darn good buy. If they did 8 million, that's really good. We'd have to wait and see.
Well, that was dollars, not numbers.
Oh, dollars. Okay, well, they did 4 million. Think about pay-per-views. We're doing $100 and something million years ago. Something's wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but something is wrong. And people say, well, it's a different situation. Well, listen, I was at a festival. The place was packed. They wanted to be there. They wanted to see that. Jack was saying 20,000 people show up in the Gaston area to watch the fireworks. So is it because people have changed, or has wrestling changed so much that people don't care? I don't know. What do y'all think? I mean, are doing other things. I mean, they are still doing other things. So go ahead, Ray.
No, it's because it's a comedy show. It's because there's nobody for them to back. Think about it. Today, the college football is still as popular today as it ever was. People are still filling those stadiums up more so than any time ever. So it's the thing that, and I watched one talk about how he had wrote his backstory. It was one of these AEW losers that was talking about he wrote his own backstory that Tony used. And why do you have a backstory? Why can't your life be a backstory? Why can't your accomplishment, your real accomplishments be your backstory? It can't be. They're all trying to do characters as if there's some kind of play on television or something.
But the problem is the wrestlers today don't have a backstory. They don't have the Ted DiBiase that wrestled in college, or he was a football player, and he had they're guys from Montgomery, Alabama, that worked at the Pizza Hut, and they
have no resume, and that's the reason. Possibly that's the reason that Vince has went with all athletes now who have resumes. They have accomplishments in other fields that when they come in, they actually have a resume. But when you are not legitimate, and I think that's what I'm getting at. They're just not legitimate. They are characters. They're cartoon characters, more or less.
Kevin Penley said Austin Idol probably had a fight in Columbus over Battle Royale.
Austin Idol never met a fight he wouldn't walk away from.
He certainly wasn't going to fight. The lights were out in Rome, Georgia, and he went under the ring, and he was the babyface.
Well, that particular one I remember in Columbus, he just one punch hit the guy. And of course, the police come around at that time. Of course, they had police escorting them back and forth to the ring back then.
Richard Hood, in Puerto Rico, you had to fight your way to the ring and back to the locker room, and usually wouldn't have ringside seats there because of that. Robert Walker said Dad got pretty close to getting into it with some fans. As you walk back to the dressing room from the ring, as they would try to touch and grab his mask. Talking about stopping time when he would stop and turn and look at them. Yes, people, didn't they know they didn't touch Wrestling 2's mask?
Touch the mask.
I'm going to tell you. One of the things about wrestling is if you wore a mask, it was harder to get facial expressions across. And the only exception to that rule was Mr. Wrestling number 2. And I'm going to tell you, I've been in the dressing room when he come back in, and he might be mad about something. And you cleared your way to make sure he didn't get close to you. Because yeah, now he never would have hit anybody. He wouldn't have said nothing. He was just a good guy. But the way that those eyes looked, you knew you didn't need to mess with him right then. Just leave him alone.
He understood the wrestling business. He understood how to sell. He
Yep.
understood how to make the people from the top of the building react to what he was doing, and that's a lost art that's not done in the wrestling business today. There's no doubt about that. Christopher Hughes, back in the territory days, you knew who the best was because they would go anywhere and the business would pick up. The ladies would come around, and we all know if you ain't doing business, there isn't any ladies around. That is correct, and they have
But they would go to any territory and just change the whole style.
yeah, they would. They would. And that was very important. He's walking the walk. I guess he's talking about actually on a walker, Ric Flair is today. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. That was bad. Y'all, Hunter and Stephanie run the show and the stockholders. Um,
Well, the stockholders won't run it, but
yeah, I wonder if pro wrestling should be unionized. No, I don't think that'll ever happen anyway.
it goes against the very nature of the business, because then you're saying, so and so that you hire has to stay there, that you have to find a job for him. If he's not drawing on TV, then you got to still pay him. So that means you got to find another job for him, and it's just a never ending cycle. The territories worked because when somebody got tired or they weren't drawing as well or whatever, there was other territories to send them to. What was 22 at one time in the United States? So there was plenty of options. You promoter, you booker, whoever made calls, or you made your calls yourself, and you went somewhere else. Before your welcome got wore out, and then you would come back eventually hot, and draw money again. Uh, WWE now, it's the same principle though. If you're not drawing, if you're not making money for the company, then you're not doing anybody any good.
Yeah.
So the issue though is that they're so limited where they can go. There's AEW, which now they're showing, hey, we're picking up a bunch of people, but now 3 years in, we're letting a bunch of people go because they're not drawing for us.
Yeah.
So we're back to what people are. They don't like it. I see it. They're griping at Tony Khan about it, but at least he lets them ride the full length of the contract out. Where Vince, won't do that.
I'd much rather go up for a body slam weighing 250 pounds than 180. Yes. Charles said he never eat prunes prior to the show. He said this. Either that or you've been watching Monday Night Raw on Tuesday. There's so many independent wrestling companies out there that are good, like BCW Pro Wrestling. We can go watch that. Mike, we can go back and watch it. If they're on somewhere we're watching, we can tell you whether or not we thought they were good or not. I've seen a bunch of independent wrestling, and it's not been good. I'm sorry, it's just not been good. They're lacking something. Don't know what it is because I haven't took the time to look at it, but there is something going on in the wrestling business today, and I think I seen one guy put a guy's head in a chair, come running through. They wasn't even in the ring, and they'll stomp on the chair. You knew he didn't step on his head because the guy's head was way out. And I'm thinking, what was the point? What was the point? It made no sense. It's not going to draw you no money. It was something that you can put on your reel to show what you did. But who cares? Who cares you did? Prayers go out to Michael Barr on his surgery. Kane Kenny said, would you compare Tony Khan to no? Jim Crockett Jr. was miles ahead of Tony Khan. What do you think, Rob?
No, they're not in the same class. No, not at all.
Jack?
No, I agree.
I do believe Dustin Rhodes could run AEW. Yes, I do. He certainly could make sure them guys had better matches. I don't think he wants to do it. don't think he cares to do it. I used to think RVD's Frog Splash looked better than anyone else before he sewed his stomach after each one. Wendy Hargan, great show tonight, guys. I look forward to every Tuesday. Thank you so much. Donald Owens, missed y'all at the Dothan Fan Fest. Hope that everything went well. I was actually on my way back from Jacksonville that night. Got up early and I think 4:00 Sunday morning. And don't get me wrong, he was awesome. Mickey Mayfield. Would today's audience fall in love with the program that we grew up watching, or would it be no? They would fall in love with it because it told a story. I think
if you gave them a visual presentation on TV of just matches on TV without all the fancy lights and no pyro and all that, they probably wouldn't go. But if you got them into an arena and made them watch, however you convince them to stay, gunpoint or whatever. But I believe that by the end of that event, they would like what they saw.
Yeah.
Okay, I can jump in. If you're talking about WWE fans liking Georgia Championship Wrestling, no. But there's so few of them, who cares? You're going to go after the other 320 million people in the United States. So I think there's a market for it, but not the people that currently watch the current AEW product in the WWE. You want to expand and grow away from them. You're not going to try to grow from the same audience that they are. That's my opinion.
I had a promoter one time run a small show. It was not a good show. And he got on to me because I was running 50 miles from him, but he said I was running competition to him. And I told him, I said, I'm not trying to draw your fans. I'm trying to draw the fans that won't watch your show.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's something wrong. There's a disconnect between wrestling fans today. I mean, you think about it. If you just look at Jim Cornette, let's look at his YouTube channel. Over 300,000 people watch and listen to his podcast. That's not too much more than is watching AEW wrestling. When a YouTube channel can do almost as much as TBS can do, you would think TBS and those people would look at it and go, you mean to tell me you can't even draw this amount of people with a wrestling show? And you'd have to tell them, no, you can't, because we're not a wrestling show.
I'm not sure. I was watching, I think it was a footage of AEW and with CM Punk and the Hook guy. And CM Punk had got back into the ring and backed into Hook, and the fans started chanting profanity over the show, and just was chanting that. I think that from my point of view, that is not the kind of group or crowd that I would want to draw. No. That is not who I would be catering to. That my show would not be for that. I would be looking for families and family shows, and I would not. In fact, I would rethink the entire product if I had a show that happened in.
Wendy Harkins makes a good point. One thing I've seen about indie shows is they don't get out and advertise like back in the day. They rely on social media now. And I don't know if they really understand social media. I think they think a Facebook page is social media, and that is not true. No. There's more to it than that. There's a whole lot more to the internet, social media, than just having a Facebook page. That's not enough to draw a crowd. You tug on Superman's cape, you don't mess with Batman's belt, and you don't touch two.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Steve Austin and Taker would be good behind the scenes also. Yes, but I don't think either one of them would take the time to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, if possible, to me, Steve Austin they're missing the boat by not putting him at the commentary if he would do it, because he could really, because of the way he does stuff, his presentation, he could get anything over. I mean, he really could.
Mako said, "Not in those great, but he's trying. I'm watching his show from my mom's basement." uh, when you look at what they're trying to produce right now, I think if I was a sponsor looking at the show, and this is just me looking at the show, if I was a sponsor, I'd have a very hard time sponsoring AEW. Because it's lowbrow television, and I wouldn't want to be a part of lowbrow television. And to me, it comes over as lowbrow, and like a bunch of kids doing a show. I don't know. I'm not for sure that the kids doing the grease at the high school level are not doing a better job at what they're doing than what these guys are doing today. So kayfabe died. Kayfabe was not everybody believed wrestling in the 70s, and for people to believe that, no, what died is believability. That's the only thing that died, not kayfabe. I'm sorry. Am I wrong about that? Not everybody believed it in the 70s and the 80s. They didn't. It was the way they produced it. That's what's died. Not kayfabe. It's the way they produce wrestling. It's a comedy.
Exactly. That's exactly right. They do it as a parody of what we grew up with. Exactly what it is.
All right, guys, we're going to have to get off here. We're running way late on our show, but
Kenny, you said, but one thing, Rodney, your family show would be missing out on Steve Austin. No, you can do Steve Austin. And Steve Austin can't be out there, shooting birds and, using profanity. You just don't. He could do everything he did, but you didn't have to do any of that. And at the time, he did not have to do
it. Steve Austin character was, a bit of the Crusher and the Bruiser. And so many of those tough guys from back in the day that you just believed they had that muscled up look. They would drink beer. They didn't cuss. They didn't shoot birds. They just went in there and beat your brains out. And the Steve Austin character, that at the end of the day is what got him over. You might get a little pop from shooting a bird or saying an SOB or something every now and then. But the meat and potatoes of Steve Austin was the fact that he was in great shape. He looked like he could whoop your butt, and then he went in there and whooped your butt.
And I have to say something. If you don't think AEW is a comedy show, you're not watching the show.
Yeah,
it's all comedy. It's making fun of the wrestling business. All the spots are making fun of the wrestling business. The way they're doing things are making fun of the wrestling business. It's not taken seriously. And if you take that so seriously and you think it's a great wrestling show, it might be for you today. But is it for the 20 million, 30 million people that used to watch wrestling? Will they ever come back? Will the young people watch wrestling? No, because they think it's stupid. They just think it's stupid. I mean, I'm sorry. They're not going to come. They're going to watch it and go, "Oh man, I'd rather."
You remember back in the day, it was our mothers and grandmothers that used to say, "I don't watch that. That's just stupid." Well, now it's the next generation ahead of us that are saying the same thing that our mothers and grandmothers said 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Yes, the younger people saying it now. I'm not watching crap, and it's crap to them. And they got to do something to figure out what to do to get those people back. And there is something they can do. It'll take a lot of work, but at some point they're going to have to do it, or they're going to find themselves off of television when something comes along, and something will come along that they'll want that time slot for, and they'll take wrestling off and put it on. We know that's going to happen at some point. Jack, anything you want to talk about before we leave?
I think we covered it pretty well.
Rodney?
I think we got it.
ProWrestlingTees.com. Don't forget us.
That's right. And be looking on Facebook. We're going to tell you about a new way you can support us each and every week in the next few weeks on our Facebook page. And if you have not subscribed, we are now at 2,200 subscribers on our YouTube channel. And we don't really push it that we do Facebook more. We push Facebook a little bit more. But we're 2,200 people on our YouTube channel. Go to subscribe. It's all free. And we're going to be doing some shows just for it in the next couple of weeks. Rodney, you got something you're reading?
Oh yeah, I'm always reading. He said, let's see, AEW guys are going to get hurt with some of those steps. Absolutely, and it's happening. It's happening regardless. I mean, all the time. Kenny is saying both are comedy shows. Exactly. They don't take themselves seriously, and they don't produce it seriously. So you're not going to have that backing. Think about it. Think about the last two major stars of WWE. That's The Rock and Steve Austin. Steve Austin was not the comedy part, not at all. It was, I thought, very seriously done. A lot of surprises that were done. The Rock got into where it was more comedy, especially at the end.
Yeah, but he was over, and he could get away with it. Where there's no one over today. I mean, let's be honest. There's no Hulk Hogan anymore. Thank you so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside Now. We'll see each and every one of you next Tuesday night. We'll talk about the tag teams. We'll also talk about a little bit of other stuff going on. We're going to start looking at.
What are you going to talk about? Logan Paul signing with the WWE?
Oh, did he sign for the WWE?
Yes, he did.
Why? He was making millions doing those boxing matches.
Well, he's gonna make a few more dollars with him.
WrestleMania, is that what he's signing?
SummerSlam.
He has signed as a multiple matches coming up.
Wow,
it's a multi-year deal.
He must love wrestling because he's making millions. I think he's one of the top YouTubers in America and in the world, maybe. So he's making millions of dollars on YouTube. So just a little bit more money he can make from the WWE. Thank y'all so much. We'll see everybody next week. We're going to be talking professional wrestling. We're also going to look at the history of what happened. Next week, we'll talk about what happened that particular day, what happened last Tuesday in the history of pro wrestling. We'll talk about that next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.